Hello and welcome to this introductory case study in this course, New Business Development. So here we have a case study for developing new business development successfully in the first attempt. And that's the focus of the course also. So let's take a look at this case study. So this is a case study, first shot real hit. And here, we will look at how one founder de-risked and built a new business successfully in the first attempt, right? So let's go forward and take a look at this code. Now, this is the case of Daniel Ortiz, name mask, face mask, a 30-year-old software developer in a mid-sized company located for our purpose anywhere in the world, doesn't matter. And his goal is to launch his first business and make it work in the very first attempt, without burning all his savings or reputation. So that's his goal. Now, he has certain constraints and fears in doing that, like no previous startup experience. This is the first time. He has limited savings, just enough for him to survive for 12 months. Doesn't want to keep failing for years together. He doesn't have that time and patience. Wants a disciplined approach, so that his first serious attempt has very high chances of success. Right. So that is the situation we are in. So what was the initial condition that he was in? So Daniel originally had an idea, right? Like all of us who want to do business have. He said, I will build an AI-powered task management app for busy professionals. He was excited. He had great technology, he had cool features, he could build it himself. But when he was talking to a mentor, the mentor asked, how do you know anyone else wants another task apps? There are already many task apps. And there, the Daniel realized that he was in love with the solution, not the problem of the customer. And his chances of success in the first attempt would be low if he went blindly. So he decided if I want my first real attempt to succeed, I must reduce risk at every step and build with evidence, not assumptions. And that's what we will teach you in this course also. So he treated his business development as a disciplined experiment. So clever idea with high risk, but he had a solution. So what was the turning point? So the turning point was adopting, my one mindset that my first goal is not to build a product, right? My first goal is to discover a problem worth solving and a customer willing to pay. And he himself made a rule that, you know, first 30 to 45 days, he's not going to do any coding for product development, right? And then he will do instead research, interviews, and prototyping. So the turning point was from a hoping and building to test and then build. So first step was to discover a painful payable problem that he had decided. So for that, he looked around at the groups that he understood. He used to work like developers, remote workers, and startup founders. And he started with problem interviews with them. There he asked, what is the most annoying part of your work day? Where do you waste the most time? What have you tried to fix? What didn't work? So after 30 plus conversation with remote team leads and startup founder, he noticed a pattern, right? The problems weren't personal task tracking. It was, you know, I don't know what my remote team is really doing until the end of the week, right? I'm chasing constantly for updates. And they complained that daily stand ups were messy or skipped, status updates were scattered in chats, right? And employees felt micromanagers and leaders felt blind. This was the sharper problem than what he had defined earlier as busy people needs as type. So he refined his idea, right? He refined it as, remote team leaders feel blind. He refined it as remote team leaders feel blind about the daily progress and hate chasing people for update. Now he had a real painful problem for a real customer, right? So what did he do next? So he reshaped his idea. He didn't stay wedded to his idea. So instead of AI task for everyone, he defined as a simple progress update assistant for remote teams that pulls daily updates automatically so leaders don't have to chase people. So that's how he defined his business concept. And he gave it a name, working name of Daily Pulse. And there his core promise was that, we give remote team leads a 5-minute daily snapshot of what everyone did without extra meeting or micromanaging. And this focus where to play and how to win much more sharply. So he was getting there. This wasn't it. The third step was to validate demand. He could have jumped into launching the business now, but no, let me go patiently because I have promised myself to de-risk step by step. So he validated demand before building. To increase the chances of first time success, he knew if people won't commit to this before he builds, then it is not strong enough. So he created a simple one page landing page, and in which he explained the problem, the solution, and few mockups. And he added a join early access at $15 a month after 30-day free trial button and shared it with people who had interviewed plus relevant communities. And he also did founder style direct approach. There he messaged, I'm building a tool that gives you daily team updates without more meetings or micromanaging. Would you be open to 15-minute call to see if this is something that you would use? And like this, he talked about 20 plus team leads. And in that, he asked directly questions like, if this model worked as described, would you pay for it? What would make this a no-brainer for you? And he refined from the conversations, right? And He refined from the conversation, and by the end of the 4 weeks, he had 18 teams who said, tell me when this is ready, right? Seven of them agreed to be in writing to pay after the free trials if it delivered what it promised. And this was green light for him, wasn't it? So this is a real pre-committed demand. So there was a real pre-committed demand, and this step dramatically increased his odds of success on the first attack. Then he built a simple, narrow MVP, a minimum viable product. So instead of building everything that he dreamt of, he asked, what is the smallest version that delivers the core promise? Remember the word, the core promise? And he decided three core features in the MVP. Daily reminders to team members. What did you work on? Any blockers? Simple text input, no complex UI. Daily auto-generated summaries to the team lead in email or Slack. He did not build kind of things like full analytics dashboard, complex AI planning, mobile apps, while they were very, inviting. He focused on one job. And what was that one job? To make it easy for the leader to see the daily progress in 5 minutes. And he built it in 6 weeks while still working part time. The fifth thing was to run a real pilot with real paying users, right? And he onboarded his early access teams that he was talking to, 10 small remote teams with 4 to 12 members each, gave them a 30 days free offer, then a 15 to 40 dollars a month depending on the team size. And he told them, this is a pilot. I need brutal honesty. I will be available personally for to fix issues and adjust. So they had realistic expectation. And then he measured the progress, how often the team members filed updates, how often leaders read the summaries, and whether the stand-up meetings reduced or improved. And also then he looked at feedback calls. He also had regular feedback calls like what annoys you, what do you like, what would make you cancel it immediately. And by the end of the pilot, 7 out of the teams, 10 teams agreed to start paying. And leaders reported that there was less chasing on chats now, fewer but more focused stand-ups are happening, stand-up meetings are happening, and there's better clarity on who is stuck. So this tool wasn't perfect, but it worked enough to deliver the core promise, the value that it had promised. Then he checked the business fundamentals before scaling. He still wasn't jumping into scaling. So now Daniel asked, is this just a nice little tool or can it be a real sustainable business? And for that he calculated a few things like average expected monthly revenue per team, which worked out to be $25 per month, cost of hosting and support, cost of acquiring customers in terms of time ads, outreach, and he realized that if he focused on remote team in small agencies and startup, he could sign 10 to 15 teams per month manually in the beginning. And if he kept the churn load between 3 to 5%, he could reach 200 teams in 18 to 24 months, and that will lead to $500 per month revenue as an initial target. And his initial target wasn't huge, but it was realistic and sustainable. So now he set milestones. Month 3, 20 paying teams. Month 6, 50 paying teams. Month 12, 100 paying teams. And his plan was to keep a part-time job for the first 6 to 9 months, then go full-time if the milestones were hit. And again, here he was de-risking the business development in his first attempt, right? Then instead of chasing buzz, he focused on, to build a successful business, just not the launch. What are the things he did? He focused on customer love before growth, right? By answering support questions, repeats request himself, fixing bugs quickly, adding only features that multiple customer requested. He had a narrow positioning. He repeated one line everywhere. Daily progress updates for remote teams without extra meetings. And he resisted the urge to make it a project management for everyone. And there was a controlled growth that he focused on. Most customers came from referrals, email outreach, communities, forums for remote uh, leaders, right? And he avoided burning money on large ad campaigns too early. So what happened? So over 18 months, 170 plus teams started using Daily Pulse. The churn was low. Product was mature but still simple. And there was enough income to go full time. And first time business was building profitability and growing. And Daniel realized what he wanted. His serious attempt at new business had actually worked, not because he was a genius, because he was disciplined. Right. So that's how he started building this sustainable sector. So, what are the core principles that made the first attempt successful? First, problem first, idea second. He did not start with a product, he started with the customer pain. No building before evidence. He refused to code for weeks until he had real validation and soft commitments. Pre sell before development, right? Early access signups and written intent to pay significantly reduced the risk. Very narrow MVP. He built the smallest thing that solved the core problem, not the entire dream product. And he measured pilot, not big launch. And there he asked the 10 teams deeply instead of launching to the world. He kept it simple, real numbers. He checked unit economic, pricing, churn, and acquisition before trying to scale. And he had the emotional discipline. He was willing to kill features, listen to criticism, and move slowly to move surely. So let's take a look at this framework. The first framework to build business in the first attempt. So he started with finding a painful problem by asking who's really suffering from a repeated for a from a repeated specific problem, and he interviewed 20 to 30 problem people, right? And then he imagined and focused solution development he did by asking what is the smallest, clearest way to solve that problem for that group. And he defined one sentence value proposition. Then he ran pre-sales and validation, will anyone commit before it exists, before it comes to life. And that he did by putting the landing page, early success signups, and letters of intent. Then he simplified and build the MVP, a simple MVP, by asking what is the minimum you must build to deliver the promise. And that there he built the core only and cut everything else ruthlessly. And then he tested, tuned, and then scaled by asking, does it work in reality? Usage, payments, and renewals he looked at. And then he ran a pilot, refined it, and then grew step by step. So that was the framework he used. So what's the final takeaway? A successful first attempt in business is less about luck, but more about relentlessly improving uncertainty and risk before you go big. To develop a new business successfully in your first serious attempt as an individual, you must fall in love with customers' problem, not your idea. Refuse to build unless you have clear, strong signals of demand. Build a small, sharp MVP that delivers one promise very well and test it in real world with paying users, right? Not just friends who say nice idea. And make decision based on evidence, numbers, and feedback, not emotions or ego. So what do we do next? What else? We start looking at how what does it take to succeed in your business. We have some idea now, but let's look at it formally and then see how do we go forward. So thank you so much for watching this introductory case study in this course, New Business Development. I hope you're beginning to learn new things, beginning to enjoy, and I do look forward to see you again in the next lecture. Please feel free to message me if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer your questions and do download the PDF file to take a look at anything that you need.